I'm so glad you're here with the thesis. I would just point out there's a lot going on in public markets right now. But actually, you know, private markets are quite active in physical AI. You know, I was tracking the data, PitchBook, like 2019 to last year. It's going up. What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Ed. It's great to be here. And of course, Index and other folks in the Valley have been spending a lot of time investing in the fundamentals of AI, which have been really based on LLMs. So at Index, we've done everything from foundation model of Anthropic to inference layer, Fireworks, and then a bunch of application companies. But if you take a step back, actually most of the disruption in software has really been around the knowledge worker, and that's where a lot of the investment has gone. But there's a big white space, which is what does AI do in the physical world? And that's where we've been spending a lot of time.
Yeah, you know, for a really long time in many cycles, software is eating the world. And now people say, well, hardware is eating the world. You're basically saying both. You know, they are joint.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at it, there's all of these functions, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers, and for decades, they have been using the same software stack. And a lot of these incumbents were built in the 1980s. And there's this huge race, not just the race to get to space, but the race to put better things in the physical world. And unlike some of the things in the digital world, if you get one character wrong in these code, something could actually blow up, like a nuclear reactor or a rocket. And so we're really interested in companies that are trying to solve this deeply technical, very domain-specific problem.
Most multimodal, trying to ground the model in real-world physics, you know, in the case of robotics. You know, in my study of software, you know, the VCs that come on the shows would say, we have conviction about this because there's a public market proxy, an example we can point to on how we value this company or the market opportunity for it. In humanoid robotics and other physical AI domains, much harder to do. Is SpaceX going to be a good proxy for that?
Well, I think that's why all eyes are on the SpaceX IPO. And I think that it's really opened the eyes to folks of just how compelling this market is and how lucrative it could be. And that's drawing a lot of dollars into the private sector in companies that are doing similar things.
Yesterday, I was on stage with Trey Stevens from Founders Fund. He made a very simple outline of a thesis on why SpaceX is going to work. We'll play the soundbite.
We have a SpaceX investment in almost every fund, both across our venture funds and our growth funds. So there's a ton of exposure for LPs that were with us since the very beginning, and even the ones that joined us very recently. I think, you know, the core lesson that everyone has learned from this experience is never bet against Elon. It's just a bad idea.
Pretty simple. Don't bet against Elon Musk. It's a bad idea. I don't know, like, how deeply you read the S1 and the world that is envisioned for the future, or out of this world, and how much that gave you conviction in your own thesis.
Yeah, well, I think the way that we have played it is that Elon is a huge talent attractor. And so actually two of the most recent investments I've made are both in former SpaceX founders. So one is Scott Morton from Revel. He spent 10 years at SpaceX.
That's right.
Doing launch control, and his role there really exposed him to how big of a need there is for better software for hardware, which is why he's now built Revel. And then Sergey Nesterenko, who's the founder of Quilter, spent 6 years at SpaceX, where he was really frustrated that he had to wait for a human to manually lay out a printed circuit board. Of course, printed circuit boards are really important to everything that's happening in chips, so he started Quilter to use AI to autonomously lay out PCBs.
We just have 30 seconds. You know, I think that we make the point that whatever happens with the IPO, it will cause some volatility in public markets one way or another. But from the venture capital industry standpoint, I won't ask you to speak specifically on Anthropic. How much do you guys need some big IPOs to get the world moving?
Well, I think VC is always rooting for the IPO window to be open. It creates more options for our founders for capital and liquidity. And it's really exciting to see the ones that are lined up today. And so I think folks will be watching them very closely.